Welcome to the Mad Human channel. And tonight, we journey not forward, not backward, but inward, into something stranger than clocks, older than calendars, and deeper than any ticking hand could measure. Tonight, we follow the story of time. Not the time carved into watches or numbered in seconds, but the time that lives inside you, in your breath, in your memory, in the way a single moment can stretch into forever or vanish in a blink. This isn't just a story about hours or years. It's the story of perception, of rhythm, of how existence feels when you are alive inside it. Because time is not simply what you count. It is what you carry. It bends with your joy. It slows with your grief. It is not universal, it is intimate. And long after the clocks have stopped, you will still feel it. Before there were calendars, before the first sundial cast its shadow across stone, before the first bell rang out across a village square, there was still time. But not the kind you know. It wasn't divided, not measured, not written into tables and almanacs. It was felt. It was in the length of hunger between hunts, in the slow swelling of a pregnant belly, in the warmth that left the air as night deepened, in the silence after a storm. Time was not something to count. It was something to notice. It moved through seasons, through breath, through the rhythms of a world that had no need for numbers. Imagine standing on the edge of an ancient forest. No clock, no phone, no calendar in your hand. The sun lifts itself slowly over the horizon, and you feel its warmth crawling across your skin. Hours pass, but you don't know them as hours. You know them as the soft shift of shadows beneath the trees, the gradual arc of light bending across the ground. That is time. You don't name it, but you live it. You don't measure it, but you feel it. It doesn't belong to you, you belong to it. And here's the secret we keep forgetting, we still do. We live as if time is a rigid law, ticking away in uniform steps, but our bodies know otherwise. To a child, a year feels like forever. To the old, it feels like a blink. An hour in the arms of someone you love feels shorter than an hour in a waiting room. A second of terror stretches longer than a whole afternoon of peace. Physics tells us time is woven into the fabric of the universe, but life tells us it is woven into the fabric of our feelings. Time is not only what the universe keeps. It is what your heart stretches or compresses, depending on how you live. Long before we invented minutes, we measured time by stories. The hunter said, "It was as long as 2 fires." The farmer said, "It lasted 3 rains." The mother said, "I carried you for the length of 1 season." Their time was not numerical. It was alive. It was attached to events, to changes, to transformations. They did not ask, "How many hours has it been?" They asked, "What has shifted since then?" And maybe that is closer to the truth than the seconds ticking on your wristwatch. Because no matter how many numbers we carve into a circle, no matter how precise our atomic clocks, what you feel inside does not obey them. Time speeds up when you are happy, slows down when you suffer, disappears when you are in flow, and freezes when you are struck by awe. Have you ever stared at a sunset so perfect you lost track of yourself? You weren't outside of time, you were inside the deepest version of it. The one without numbers. The one that doesn't pass, but holds. You see, clocks do not measure time. They measure change. The swing of a pendulum. The vibration of cesium atoms. The rotation of the earth. But you measure time by experience. By heartbeat. By the way your breath catches in your chest. By the way a single memory can live longer in you than an entire decade of ordinary days. Think of that. You may not remember whole years, but you remember the way someone's laugh once made you feel infinite. You may not recall the exact hour of 1,000 afternoons, but you remember the single moment your child first spoke your name. That is time. Not in numbers, in feeling. And yet we chase it. We chase it as if it can be caught. We plan, schedule, manage, optimize as though time is something you own. But it is not yours. You do not possess it. You participate in it. It is the current that carries you whether you swim or not. And every time you look at a clock and think you understand it, it slips away, laughing quietly, reminding you that hours are human inventions, but eternity belongs to no one. Even the universe does not keep time as we think it does. In space, gravity bends it. A clock near a black hole ticks slower than one on your desk. Light itself, the fastest traveler in existence, takes billions of years to cross galaxies, and yet, to the light itself, no time passes at all. Imagine that, from the light's perspective, there is no waiting, no journey, no duration. Only arrival. Perhaps that's why we stare at stars and feel strange. Because in their light, we glimpse a truth beyond clocks. A truth that says, time is not one thing. It is many. It stretches and collapses depending on where you stand, how you move, how you feel. And if that is true for the cosmos, why wouldn't it be true for you? Think of grief. Think of how it slows everything. The world moves, but you are heavy, dragged backward into memories. The days stretch long, but the nights stretch longer. You count seconds without meaning, waiting for something that will not return. Time does not heal, it bends around your loss. And then think of love. Think of how it makes everything vanish. Hours dissolve. Days blend. You find yourself asking, where did the time go? As though it had been stolen, when in truth it had been given, so full, so alive, you did not notice its passing. That is not illusion. That is time. Time is feeling. So when you say, I don't have time, what do you really mean? You mean, I don't feel spacious enough for this. When you say, time flew by, what you mean is, my heart was too alive to notice. When you say, it took forever, you mean, I was waiting in emptiness. We keep pretending time is external, measured in numbers, managed in schedules, when in truth time is inside us. It stretches when we are restless. It shrinks when we are whole. And maybe, just maybe, time is not something passing at all. Maybe it is something arriving. Each breath, each step, each heartbeat. Not moving away from you, but arriving to meet you. Maybe the present is not a thin slice between past and future. Maybe it is the only thing that has ever existed, unfolding again and again, differently each time. You do not move through time. Time moves through you. And if time moves through you, then who are you except the vessel that receives it? Every second is not something you chase, but something that arrives like rain. You don't run after raindrops. They fall into your hands. In the same way, time does not slip away from you. Comes, it lands, it lingers for a breath, and then it changes shape. It becomes memory. It becomes feeling. It becomes the echo of what you once touched, once knew, once felt so vividly that it could never fully leave you. That is why memory is not a calendar. Memory is a pulse. You don't remember days, you remember moments. The moment your grandmother's hand rested on yours with quiet warmth. The moment you stood alone in a field and heard nothing but wind. The moment your heart shattered, and the silence afterward felt like the longest hour of your life. These are not numbers on a clock. They are anchors. They are proof that time, as you feel it, is not linear but emotional. It expands and contracts around meaning. Think of childhood. Remember how summer seemed to last forever? The days stretched endlessly, like golden rivers of light. But when you look back now, it feels like one flash, one collage of color and laughter, a few smells, a few sounds. How can something that once felt eternal collapse into a handful of moments? Because time was never a number. It was always a texture, and textures change as you grow. Children live in slow time because everything is new. Every detail is rich, every hour full of discovery. But as you age, repetition quickens time. Your brain stops recording the familiar. The commute, the routine, the endless scroll of sameness, they blur. Time feels fast not because it is moving faster, but because you are no longer pausing to notice. Novelty stretches time. Repetition collapses it. That is why a year at 10 years old feels longer than a decade at 50. So the truth is this: you do not lose time. You lose attention. And when you lose attention, time vanishes. That is why presence feels eternal. When you are fully here, fully awake to the sound of a bird, the warmth of the air, the beating of your heart, time does not slip. It expands. It becomes wide. It becomes infinite. A single breath can hold an eternity if you feel it deeply enough. The mystics of every culture knew this. They sat in silence and stretched time until it disappeared. The Buddhists called it the eternal present. The Sufis called it timeless love. The Taoists called it the flow. And when modern science studied their brains, it found something astonishing. When you lose yourself in meditation, in prayer, in awe, the parts of the brain that track time fall quiet. The clock inside you shuts down. You step outside of time not by traveling anywhere, but by feeling fully. And perhaps that is the real freedom we keep missing. Not to control time, not to manage it, not to fight it, but to feel it differently. To bend it with presence. To stretch it with wonder. To slow it with care. Because here is the strange paradox. The more you try to hold time, the faster it runs. The more you schedule, the more you rush, the more you chase, the more it slips. But when you surrender, when you stop counting, when you allow yourself to live inside one moment without needing the next, time softens. It opens. It gives you more than you thought possible. This is why awe feels like forever. When you stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon, or watch lightning split the sky, or look into the eyes of someone you love more than language can hold, you step into a kind of eternity. Minutes lose their edges. Seconds lose their sharpness. You are not passing through time. You are bathing in it. And this is why suffering feels endless. Pain stretches every moment. The minutes crawl. The hours suffocate. You feel trapped in an infinite present of discomfort. But even this shows the truth. That time is not constant. It bends around your feelings. It listens to your state. It obeys the rhythm of your heart more than the rhythm of any clock. So what happens when you stop fighting it? What happens when you live not by numbers but by presence? You begin to notice that life is not a line moving from past to future. It is a circle, spiraling, repeating, arriving again and again in different forms. The sun rises, sets, rises again. The moon waxes and wanes. Seasons come, seasons go, seasons return. Even your breath is a cycle, in, out, pause, return. You are not moving through time like a traveler crossing a desert. You are breathing it like air. And here is the deeper mystery. Maybe all of time already exists. Maybe every moment that ever was and ever will be is still here, spread out like a vast landscape. And what you call the present is simply the place where your attention touches it. You walk through time the way a flashlight beam sweeps across a wall. The wall is already painted. You are just illuminating one patch at a time. Einstein once said, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." What if he was right? What if the past is not gone, the future not waiting, but all of it folded together all at once? And your mind, your feelings, stretch and shrink it into a story you can survive. Time is not the universe's truth. It is your nervous system's way of making sense of eternity. And if that is true, then you are not running out of time. You are not wasting it. You are not losing it. You are swimming in it. You are inside it the way a fish is inside the sea. You cannot escape it. You can only learn how to feel it more honestly. So what would change if you stopped thinking of time as numbers and started thinking of it as a feeling? Would you rush less? Would you notice more? Would you measure your life not by years but by depth, by how fully you lived, how deeply you loved, how present you were? Because at the end, no one says, "I wish I had more minutes." They say, "I wish I had more moments." And moments are not given by clocks. They are made by you. But what is a moment, really? It is not a slice of seconds. It is not a measurable piece of some endless line. A moment is a fullness, a saturation of being. A moment is when you are not divided, when all of you is here, present, alive. And this is why some moments last forever, echoing inside you long after they have passed. Because they were whole. Because you were whole. A kiss in the rain, a birth, a goodbye, a first step into the unknown. They do not vanish. They burn themselves into the fabric of you. Years may pass, calendars may turn, but that moment remains as bright as the day it happened. Time, the way you think of it, may move forward, but the moment stays. It is not gone. It is carried. It is living inside you even now, And perhaps this is the real illusion, that the past is behind you. It isn't. It's within you. Every memory you hold is not a ghost of something lost. It is alive, firing in your neurons, shaping your choices, coloring your emotions. The past is not gone. It breathes through you. And the future? It is already here too, inside your imagination, inside your plans, inside the way you shape yourself toward what has not yet arrived. You carry it with you every day. The future is a feeling long before it is a fact. So maybe there is no past, no future, only this, the endless layering of feelings, memories, and anticipations inside one continuous now. Time is not a line. It is a depth that contains what has been, what is, and what might be, all folded into this breath. Right here. That is why the mystics say the present is eternal. Because it holds everything. The past is the memory you feel now. The future is the anticipation you feel now. The only thing that exists, truly exists, is this single living awareness. But we are taught to forget this. We are taught to live in the numbers. To live by schedules, to measure our worth by how efficiently we move through the hours. We trade presence for productivity. We turn our days into currency, selling them one by one, as if time were a wage and not a wonder. We say, time is money. But no, time is feeling. And when you treat it like money, you empty it. You starve it of depth. You turn eternity into a checklist. Look at a child again. Watch how they play. Hours dissolve, but not because they are wasted. They dissolve because they were never measured. The child is not thinking of the next hour. They are here, fully inside this one. They are timeless. That is why childhood feels infinite. Not because the years were longer, but because presence was deeper. And then think of yourself, scrolling endlessly through a screen, checking the time, waiting for the next thing. You may spend hours, but they feel like minutes. Why? Because you were absent. You were not here. You were not feeling. You were drifting through numbers, not through life. So here is the hidden truth. To feel time fully is to slow it. To give attention is to expand it. To live deeply is to stretch eternity into a single hour. And to live shallowly, distractedly, is to let eternity collapse into nothing. That is why you can spend 10 years in routine and wonder where they went. And why you can spend one night under the stars and remember it for the rest of your life. Time is not what you think. It is not what the clock says. It is what your soul says. It is what your heart stretches into forever or compresses into emptiness. It is not outside of you. It is you. And this is why fear of running out of time is misplaced. You cannot run out of what you are made of. You can only forget to feel it. You can only live so distractedly that the depth of life escapes you. But the truth? There is always more. More depth. More eternity hidden inside a single breath. Consider the breath now. Inhale. Exhale. Each breath takes about 4 seconds. A tiny sliver of clock time. And yet, if you pay attention, if you feel it fully, the coolness entering your nose, the expansion of your chest, the release as you exhale, that 4 seconds becomes vast. It becomes wide enough to hold the world. You are not measuring anymore. You are being. That is time as feeling. And this is the secret that sages, poets, and lovers have always known. Eternity is not endless years. It is endless depth. A second of true presence is larger than a century of distraction. The poet Rilke once wrote, "Eternity is not endless time, but the eternal moment. And when you taste it, you understand. You understand why lovers lose hours in each other's gaze. You understand why monks can sit in silence for decades and call it joy. You understand why the dying say, 'It all went so fast,' not because it was short, but because they only tasted eternity in glimpses, and now they see what they missed. So do not wait for more time. Do not beg for it. Do not chase it. Instead, feel it. Feel it now. Stretch this moment until it holds everything. Because it does. And now, consider the river of your life. Not a river measured by days, months, or years, but by currents of feeling, by the rise and fall of emotion, by the moments that carry you forward even when you do not notice. Time, as you have been taught to measure it, is like looking at a river through a narrow tube, counting only the ripples that touch its walls. But if you step beside it, if you let yourself sit in its flow, you see the true river, vast, deep, meandering, sometimes raging, sometimes still, carrying everything along with it. Every laugh you have ever had, every tear, every pause, every burst of joy or fear, these are not lost to time. They are folded into the river, eddying and swirling, shaping the currents that follow. And the strange thing is, you are both observer and participant. You cannot separate yourself from the flow. For every choice, every feeling, every moment you pay attention to leaves its mark on the water. Time is alive and it listens. Even the stars know this. They shine not just in distance, but in memory. The light that reaches your eyes tonight may have traveled for millions of years, yet it is new to you, present in your perception. The universe, in its vastness, operates in ways that defy human clocks. Time bends, stretches, and folds in ways your mind struggles to comprehend. And yet, when you stand beneath the night sky and feel the cold breath of space on your skin, you know the truth. You are experiencing the flow directly. You are tasting eternity, if only for a heartbeat. And if that is true, then consider what it means to fear the passage of time. You are afraid of something that is not leaving you, something that is not external, something that has always been a part of your being. Time is not a thief. It is not a shadow creeping along walls. Time is your pulse. Time is your breath. Time is the heartbeat that has kept you alive from the first second you drew it, and will continue long after you cease to measure it. The ancients understood this instinctively. They did not build calendars merely to count days. They built rituals to honor the cyclical nature of experience. They marked solstices and equinoxes not because they feared the passage of seasons, but because they recognized the rhythm within them, the dance of life mirrored in the movement of sun, moon, and earth. To them, time was not a line. It was a spiral, a song, a pattern that carried meaning as much as motion. And yet, in the modern age, we have tried to flatten time. We have stretched it into grids, chopped it into hours and minutes, digitized it into nanoseconds, as if by naming it we could control it. But the truth is, control is impossible. Time cannot be owned, cannot be conquered. It will slip through your fingers like water. The more you try to hold it, the more elusive it becomes. And the more you chase it, the more you feel its absence. Perhaps that is why we experience urgency, anxiety, and the constant rush to accomplish, to achieve, to be somewhere other than where we are. We have traded the depth of moments for the illusion of progress. We have sacrificed presence for efficiency. And we mistake this tension, this feeling of scarcity, as the nature of time itself. But it is not time that is scarce. It is awareness. It is presence. It is the willingness to fully inhabit the now, to taste it, to let it fill you until it expands outward and folds around everything you have been and everything you will be. Think of a single morning. You wake, the sunlight spills across your room, a bird calls outside, and your body begins its slow rhythm of waking. You glance at a clock. You sigh. Another hour passed. But step back. Look closer. What did that hour hold? Perhaps nothing extraordinary happened. Perhaps everything happened. The warmth of sunlight touching skin, the sound of breath, the shifting of thought, the gentle memory that flickers in your mind. All of these are time, infinitely rich, infinitely detailed, infinitely yours. And yet we fail to notice too often because we are trained to count rather than to feel. And this is where freedom begins. When you stop counting, when you stop racing, when you stop measuring against some imagined standard, you step into the real flow of existence. You see that the river has always carried you, that every moment is both arrival and departure, that nothing is ever truly lost and nothing is ever truly waiting. You are not outside time. You are not a traveler moving along its path. You are the river itself. Even suffering cannot take this from you. Even grief, heartbreak, and despair are time moving in a different texture. A day of sorrow can stretch endlessly, yet it is full, weighted with presence, saturated with depth. And if you feel it fully, If you let it move through you rather than resist it, it is no longer an enemy. It is a teacher, a guide, a way of knowing the currents of your own life. Pain bends time. Joy bends time. Presence bends time. And in this bending, you find the real power, the real liberation. Not mastery over seconds, not accumulation of years, but intimacy with the flow that has always been, and always will be, yours. And consider this: every heartbeat you have ever felt is part of time. Every breath, every tear, every spark of insight, every laughter that rang inside your chest. These are not marks on a calendar. They are vibrations, pulses, currents in a river that is entirely yours. You have carried it with you since your first cry, and you will carry it until your last. No clock can measure it. No schedule can contain it. Time is not external. Time is internal. Time is what it feels like to be alive. Even the future, which seems distant and abstract, is not separate from this feeling. It is seated in anticipation, in imagination, in hope and fear. It lives inside you long before it arrives. And the past, which seems gone and immovable, lives just as vividly inside your memory, folded and refolded into your perception, colored by every emotion you have felt since its passing. Past, present, future all exist simultaneously in the living river of your experience. And the only reason you perceive them as separate is because you have been taught to measure rather than to feel. And now, as we follow the river of experience deeper, we must pause, not in measurement, but in awareness. Because time is not something that can be conquered or accumulated. It cannot be paused, saved, or stockpiled. Every attempt to do so is a kind of misunderstanding. We look at calendars and clocks, believing they dictate our lives, but in truth, they are mere shadows, outlines of what is actually moving beneath the surface. The real motion is inside us, in the rhythm of breath, in the tug of memory, in the pulse of emotion. Time is the feeling of existence itself, the way life presses against you, stretches, contracts, and folds in ways you are only beginning to notice. Imagine a single leaf falling from a tree. It drifts, it sways, it pauses in midair as though time itself has held its breath. And in that pause, there is eternity. The leaf has no need for clocks, no need for schedules. It is simply carried by currents, pushed and pulled, moving in its own rhythm. And the same is true for your life. You are not moving along some rigid path measured in seconds or years. You are drifting, swaying, pausing, arriving, folding, and unfolding in ways both subtle and profound. Each moment contains countless others, nested like Russian dolls, layers upon layers, each one accessible if you pay attention, if you feel deeply, if you allow yourself to surrender to the flow. Consider music, the way a song can stretch a single second into eternity. A note held too long, a silence between beats, a crescendo that rises and bursts. These moments bend your perception. 1 minute of music can feel like an hour, or an hour can vanish in a minute, depending on the depth of your listening. And that is the way of time itself. It is elastic. It is responsive. It is shaped not by clocks, but by consciousness. The universe does not care about minutes. You do. And so the universe flows in one rhythm, while your perception flows in another, creating the illusion of passage and separation. Now think of dreams. In dreams, time is fluid. A single night can contain lifetimes. You can live entire eras, witness endless events, form deep connections, and yet wake to find only a few hours have passed. Dreams reveal what science has known for decades. The brain does not experience time linearly. Memory, imagination, perception, these distort the clock. And yet, we cling to the belief that time is a fixed external law. We carry calendars and alarms, and forget that the mind's inner rhythms, its capacity to feel, to perceive, to be alive, are far more profound than any watch can measure. Even in waking life, these distortions are everywhere. Love accelerates time. When you are lost in joy, hours collapse into minutes, and seconds expand into entire worlds. Fear elongates it. When the heart races and the mind panics, a single moment can seem infinite. Trauma bends it still further, folding memory backward and forward, intertwining past and present so that the brain cannot distinguish what has ended from what continues. And yet, every one of these distortions is an authentic experience of time. The clocks cannot account for them, the schedules cannot contain them. They are lived, they are felt, and they are yours. Perhaps this is why humans have always created stories. Myths, legends, histories, all are attempts to capture time not as a line, but as a feeling. A hero's journey is not a timeline of events. It is the expansion and contraction of experience. Every challenge, every triumph, every loss is a pulse in the living rhythm of narrative. A single battle can stretch into eternity, and a single moment of revelation can illuminate centuries. Through story, we teach ourselves how to inhabit time, how to bend it with attention, how to feel it as life itself. And yet, in the modern world, we have largely abandoned this wisdom. We have traded narrative for schedules, emotion for efficiency, depth for speed. Our lives are plotted on charts, our productivity measured in increments, our worth tied to how many tasks we complete in a day. But this is not living in time. This is living next to time, observing it without inhabiting it, missing its full dimension. The river flows regardless, and we glance at our watches, mistaking the shadow for the current. Science, in its own way, confirms what mystics have always known. In physics, time is relative. Einstein showed that clocks run at different speeds depending on gravity and motion. In extreme circumstances, time can stretch, compress, even appear to stop. This is not metaphor. This is reality. Time is not absolute. And if the universe itself knows this, why do we insist that our perception must obey the rigid ticks of a second hand? We live as though life is uniform, forgetting that every experience has its own rhythm, every emotion its own pulse, every mind its own clock. Even biology bends time. Circadian rhythms, hormonal cycles, the pulse of the heart, the firing of neurons, all these internal clocks operate independently of the hands on a wall. You may wake at 7 a.m., but your body's true morning may not begin until 9. You may sleep when the calendar dictates, but your inner cycles may demand pause or wakefulness at different hours. Time, as it lives inside you, is far richer than any clock. It is layered, multifaceted, alive, and it responds to your attention. Now, imagine yourself as a time traveler, not in science fiction, but in consciousness. Close your eyes, breathe, let your mind move freely. You can visit the past, not as memory constrained by chronology, but as sensation, as feeling, as perception. You can relive the warmth of a sunbeam, the smell of rain on soil, the texture of a hand that touched yours long ago. You can inhabit the future, not as a schedule to obey, but as a landscape of possibility, stretching and bending according to your hopes, fears, and choices. You are already traveling through time in every moment. You are not a passive observer. You are a participant, a creator, a perceiver. Even physics suggests this is not mere metaphor. Quantum theory, with its entanglements and superpositions, hints that the universe does not obey linear time in the way we perceive. Particles can exist in multiple states, seemingly outside cause and effect. Reality, at its deepest level, may be far less chronological than we assume. And if the universe itself does not abide by a strict past-to-future line, why do we cling to the illusion that we must? Why do we allow ourselves to be measured rather than to measure our own experience? And here is the profound truth. Every breath, every heartbeat, every sensation is a portal into this living, flowing time. Each moment contains layers of past, present, and future, intertwined. Your laughter carries echoes of centuries of human joy. Your grief carries all those who have suffered before you. Your curiosity carries the unborn potential of tomorrow. Time is not something you pass through. It is something you are made of, something you participate in, something you carry forward in every molecule of your being. Now consider eternity not as endless years, but as presence without end. A single instant, fully inhabited, is larger than the sum of 100 lifetimes spent distracted. The eternal is not out there. It is in here, in your capacity to notice, to feel, to be awake. to slow even for a heartbeat, to stretch a single drop of life into infinity. That is the mastery of time, the freedom of time, the deep secret that has been whispered to those who listen. And so we return, as we always do, to the same realization. Clocks do not measure time. Calendars do not hold it. Watches do not capture it. The true metric of existence is feeling, the depth of a moment, the richness of presence, the unfolding of consciousness. And in that understanding, the illusion of scarcity fades. You never run out of time. You cannot. It is in every breath, every pulse, every glance, every thought. Time is not outside you. Time is what it feels like to be alive. And still we chase it. Still we fret about wasting it, losing it, letting it slip. But the wise know, you cannot waste what you feel. You cannot lose what you inhabit. You cannot miss what is already inside. Every moment contains infinity. Every feeling contains eternity. Every breath is a portal into something larger than the calendar, the clock, the year, the schedule. And this is why, when you pause, truly pause, something shifts. The world slows, the noise fades, and you begin to hear the rhythm beneath everything. You hear the pulse of your own heart, the rising and falling of your chest, the whisper of breath entering, leaving, returning. You hear the subtle currents of time flowing through you, bending, stretching, folding, echoing. You realize you have been here all along. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where you need to be, experiencing the river of time in all its depth. And this is why the greatest gift you can give yourself is presence. Not planning, not worrying, not striving. Presence. Tension. Feeling. Let each moment be large. Let it be full. Let it expand. Let it hold everything. The past, the future, the possibilities, the memories, the dreams, the fears, the joys. Let the river carry them all. And in doing so, you step into the truth. You are not a creature of clocks. You are a creature of experience. You are a creature of feeling. You are time itself made manifest. And now, let us continue deeper into the current, where thought dissolves into feeling, and feeling stretches into the realization that time is not something you move through. It is something that moves through you. Imagine a single morning again, but not as measured by hours or alarms. Imagine it as a tapestry of sensation. The first light brushing against your eyelids, the temperature of the air as it enters your lungs, the subtle sounds around you. A bird calling, leaves rustling, the faint hum of distant life. In these details, time unfolds not as a line, but as texture. The second you spend noticing a single leaf can be more alive than a day spent rushing through obligations. It is here, in this depth of attention, that you begin to grasp the truth. Time is the richness of experience, the density of awareness, the feeling of existence pressing against you. Consider how memory works. You might recall an event from years ago, and instantly, the past feels present. You can feel the warmth of the sun that day, the weight of someone's hand in yours, the taste of food you ate, the sound of a laugh. In a heartbeat, you have traveled decades. The past is not behind you. It is folded into you. It is inside you, alive, carrying its own sense of duration that no clock can measure. And when you combine this with the anticipation of the future, with dreams, hopes, fears, and plans, you realize that your consciousness exists in a kind of perpetual temporal simultaneity. The past, the future, and the present are not linear. They are woven together in an ongoing fabric that you inhabit every second of your life. And yet, most of us live blind to this truth. We check our phones, glance at watches, follow schedules, and allow ourselves to be ruled by the illusion of linear time. We divide our lives into work, sleep, errands, and obligations, believing that the hours are what we are measuring. But the hours are empty shells unless we fill them with presence. Without attention, moments pass unnoticed, flowing like water through fingers that cannot hold it. And when we look back, we say, where did the time go? Not because it vanished, but because we failed to feel it. This is why some experiences linger in memory as vast, while others evaporate. 2 hours spent in love, in deep conversation, in creative flow, can feel infinite. 2 years spent distracted, lost in routines, can feel like a blur. Time is not quantity. It is quality. It is depth. And the depth is created by consciousness, your willingness to inhabit a moment fully, to breathe it, to let it saturate every cell of your being. And so we return to the body. The body is your true timepiece, infinitely more accurate than any clock. The heartbeat, the breath, the firing of neurons, the subtle shifts in temperature, chemistry, and perception. These are the real metrics of temporal experience. Science tells us that the brain compresses or expands time based on attention, novelty, emotion, and fear. When you are absorbed, time stretches. When you are bored, it collapses. This is not metaphor. It is the physiology of awareness. Time is a feeling, and that feeling is alive, moving through every nerve, every fiber, every pulse. Look at how nature teaches this lesson. A flower blooms not according to a clock, but according to rhythms of light, temperature, and water. A river carves its valley not according to days and months, but according to persistence, patience, and flow. Seasons turn not according to our desires, but according to cycles of the earth and sun. Time is not a human invention. It is a manifestation of life itself, and we are a part of that life. To live according to clocks is to be out of step with the natural pulse of existence. Even the cosmos, in its immense scale, obeys rhythms that are alien to our counting. Stars are born, live, and die in spans that dwarf human imagination. Galaxies collide and merge over billions of years, their motion undetectable in a single lifetime. The universe itself does not move in the units we rely on. It moves according to gravity, energy, matter, and the invisible threads that bind existence together. And yet, in all this vastness, your experience is immediate, your consciousness real. Time is both expansive and intimate, stretching across the cosmos and folding into a single heartbeat. Now consider how we create art, music, literature, all attempts to capture time as a feeling rather than a measure. A symphony can stretch seconds into eternities. A poem can condense decades into a single line. A painting can hold a universe in the gaze of a figure. Art is not about chronology. It is about immersion, about bending perception until a single moment contains more than life itself. Through these creations, humans glimpse the truth that time is not external, not mechanical, not linear. Time is what we feel, what we perceive, what we inhabit. Even love reveals this truth. When two people are fully present with one another, minutes collapse. Hours become seconds. Emotions deepen and stretch, bending the perception of reality. In those moments, the mind forgets schedules, the body forgets obligations, and the soul is entirely occupied by the experience of being together. That is the power of presence. It reshapes time itself. And yet, too often, we fail to notice. We let distractions intrude, let minds wander, let moments pass without acknowledgement, and then wonder why life feels short. And this is why mindfulness matters. Mindfulness is not meditation, nor a practice, nor a technique. It is the art of inhabiting now, of feeling fully, deeply, and without resistance. To breathe with awareness, to walk with attention, to eat with perception, to stretch a second into a universe. This is not esoteric. It is practical. It is physics, biology, psychology, and philosophy converging. Mindfulness is the recognition that time is not a linear enemy to be fought, but a river of sensation to be experienced. Now, imagine your life as a tapestry. Every choice, every thought, every feeling, every breath is a thread. Some threads stretch, some fold, some intertwine. And the pattern is created not by hours or days, but by the attention and energy you give. The richness of the tapestry is determined by depth, by intensity, by presence. Time, in this sense, is not measured in minutes, but in layers of experience. The more deeply you inhabit a moment, the longer it lasts in the fabric of your life. Science supports this too. Neurologists have found that the more novel an experience, the more richly it is encoded in memory. Repetition without attention leads to a kind of temporal erosion. Days blend, months vanish, years collapse into indistinct blur. but moments that are novel, intense, emotional, or fully noticed create lasting impressions. The brain itself bends time according to how fully you feel. Time is elastic because you are elastic. Consciousness is the measure, not the clock. Even the body's circadian rhythm, which seems mechanical, responds to perception. Light, sound, emotion, and activity all shape the internal clock. Your sense of morning, noon, and night is not dictated solely by celestial mechanics, but by your consciousness interacting with environment, memory, and physiology. Time is not outside. It is inside. It is in your pulse, your breath, your awareness. And this is why the past and future exist only as feelings. The past exists in memory, alive and vivid when recalled. The future exists in anticipation, hope, and imagination, shaping choices even before events occur. The present is the intersection, the living point where feeling, awareness, and embodiment converge. And because you inhabit all three simultaneously, time is not a line. It is a field, a landscape, a river, a current. And you are the traveler, the observer, and the river itself. This is the great paradox. You are constrained by time, yet you are time. You live in its flow, yet you generate its perception. You are measured by its passing, yet its passing is shaped by you. To understand this is to step beyond fear, beyond scarcity, beyond the tyranny of clocks. To understand this is to know freedom. Freedom is not in having more hours. Freedom is in feeling each hour fully, bending it with presence, stretching it with attention, and inhabiting it with depth. Even grief and suffering, when fully felt, become portals into temporal richness. A single hour of sorrow, deeply inhabited, is larger than a lifetime of distracted ease. Pain, fully acknowledged, bends perception, stretches moments, and reveals layers of experience previously invisible. Time is not diminished by suffering. It is intensified. Presence is not diminished by pain. It is deepened. And in this deepening, you find the paradoxical gift of temporality. That even the darkest moment, if fully felt, contains eternity. And so, the next time you glance at a clock and feel the pressure of minutes passing, pause. Remember, the clock measures nothing but your abstraction. The calendar marks nothing but your planning. The true river of time flows beneath all of it, alive in your senses, in your consciousness, in your feeling. A single second, fully inhabited, can contain a universe. A single breath, fully noticed, can stretch into eternity. And you are the one who can inhabit it. Time is not something that happens to you. It is something you feel, something you create, something you inhabit. It is woven into every breath, every thought, every heartbeat. It is your pulse, your memory, your anticipation, your awareness. It is the depth of being itself. And once you recognize this, you begin to live differently. You stop rushing. You stop fearing. You stop waiting. You inhabit the river, you merge with the current, and you realize you have never been late. You have never been early. You are always exactly where time is, exactly where life is, exactly where feeling is. And as you continue to move through your days, notice the elasticity. Notice the moments that expand into eternity. Notice the seconds that vanish like droplets into the ocean. Notice that the past and future exist only because you feel them. Notice that presence is infinite. Notice that time is not a container, but a content. Not a line, but a landscape. Not a machine, but a living river, one that you are flowing in, one that you are made of, one that you are capable of shaping with awareness. And so, in the deepest sense, the secret is simple yet profound. Time is not what you think. It is not hours or days. It is not measurable, controllable, or linear. Time is feeling. Time is depth. Time is awareness. Time is the river, and you are both the water and the riverbed. You are the flow and the current. You are the moment fully inhabited. And when you live like this, every second becomes vast, every experience eternal, every breath a universe. And even now, as you read this, as your mind moves through these words, time is not passing. Time is being experienced. Time is alive inside you. You are already practicing the art of living fully. You are already bending perception, stretching seconds, inhabiting moments. You are already a time traveler, a witness, a participant, a river of awareness flowing through the endless landscape of existence. And in this realization, the illusion of scarcity fades. You will never run out of time, for time is not something external. It is yours. It is always yours. It is the pulse of your being, the rhythm of your breath, the unfolding of consciousness. And when you finally understand this, you live with freedom, with depth, with presence, and with a joy that does not depend on clocks, calendars, or schedules. For you are time itself, and that is the only measure that truly matters. And now, let us journey further, past the surface of perception, into the layers beneath, where time does not tick, where it does not rush, where it does not wait. Here, there are no clocks, no calendars, no deadlines, no alarms. Here, there is only rhythm, there is only pulse, there is only the movement of awareness itself. This is where true time lives, not in measured increments, but in lived sensation, in the swell and fall of experience, in the beat of the heart and the silent unfolding of consciousness. Consider the act of listening, not casual listening, but the deep kind, where you lean into sound until it saturates every fiber of being. When you listen like this, a single note can stretch indefinitely. The echo of a voice, the whisper of wind, the murmur of leaves, each one carries its own duration, its own internal rhythm. And as you listen, you realize that time is not imposed on sound. Sound shapes time, bending it, folding it, elongating it. Your perception is not passive. You are not a spectator of time. You are its weaver, its sculptor, its collaborator. And so, if time is feeling, what do we feel most acutely? We feel change. We feel the impermanence of everything around us. We feel beginnings and endings, growth and decay, presence and absence. We feel life, and life is always temporal. Yet within this constant flux, there are patterns, cycles, repetitions, resonances. The seasons turn, the tides rise and fall, the moon waxes and wanes. These cycles are not linear but circular. They fold past into present, present into future, future into past, creating an ongoing spiral of experience that cannot be measured by mere hours or days. Now imagine a child playing. Time has no weight for the child. Minutes stretch into eternities, and hours vanish unnoticed. The child is immersed in sensation, in the richness of movement, in the immediacy of interaction. Laughter expands, tears deepen, curiosity stretches perception. This is what adults often forget. That time is elastic, that it responds to attention, that it grows when fully inhabited and contracts when ignored. The child teaches the secret we spend our lives unlearning. To feel time is to live fully, to inhabit the river rather than chase its shadow. And yet, our culture relentlessly trains us to forget this. We compartmentalize, schedule, quantify. We segment life into work, sleep, errands, recreation, as if existence can be contained in boxes. We measure in minutes what can only be measured in awareness. We call it efficiency, productivity, planning, but all these are illusions when it comes to the true essence of time. For the essence of time is lived experience. It is the depth of attention, the richness of emotion, the clarity of presence. Without these, minutes vanish like sand through unfeeling fingers. Consider memory again in its most intimate form. Memory is not chronological. Memory is emotional, sensory, tactile. You can recall a scent from childhood, and suddenly decades collapse. You can hear a song, and the landscape of a summer long gone stretches wide. Memory bends time backward, reshaping it according to the intensity of feeling. And anticipation, the twin of memory, bends time forward. Hope stretches seconds into hours. Anxiety elongates minutes into unbearable expanse. Your inner life continuously molds time according to the pulse of experience. Clocks cannot account for this, calendars cannot measure it, schedules cannot contain it. Time is not outside you. It is alive inside you. And as we explore this, we encounter the most profound paradox. Though time is internal, relational, felt, it is also universal. 1H into eternity. Time is elastic. Time is alive. Time is feeling. And you are the perceiver, the participant, the river, and the current all at once. And so, as you continue to read, to think, to breathe, remember this. Clocks measure nothing. Calendars contain nothing. Time is not something that happens to you. Time is what you feel, what you inhabit, what you create with attention. And in this understanding, the illusion of scarcity vanishes. You will never run out of time. Time is infinite because feeling is infinite. Presence is infinite. Awareness is infinite. And you, in every heartbeat, in every breath, in every glance, are already living eternity. And now we descend further into the river of awareness, past the surface of the ordinary, into the currents beneath perception, where time does not merely pass, where it is not counted, where it is not feared. Here, time is a fluid, intimate, and boundless presence. It does not tick. It does not wait. It does not judge. It flows through the body, the mind, the soul, carrying sensation, memory, thought, and breath along invisible channels, shaping them, molding them, giving them depth. Notice your own breath, the in-breath, the out-breath. It is the most immediate measure of time you possess. Each inhalation is a beginning, each exhalation, a release. You can slow it, deepen it, quicken it. You can inhabit it, attend to it, and in doing so, bend the perception of duration. One breath fully noticed can contain more than a day fully distracted. The body speaks in temporal pulses far richer than any mechanical clock. And when you listen to it, you begin to recognize that time is not outside you. It is inside. It is rhythm. It is feeling. It is awareness moving through matter. And consider the natural world. Trees grow without schedules, yet they follow rhythms deeper than calendars. Rivers carve valleys not by hours or days, but by persistence, patience, and the invisible pull of gravity. Seasons turn not because humans decree them, but because of the cycles of the sun, the tilt of the earth, the chemistry of life. All of nature moves according to an internal time, a felt time, a lived time. Humans, who have learned to abstract, measure, and quantify, have largely forgotten this intimacy. We obey clocks while nature flows freely, teaching, if we would only attend, that time is experience, not metric. Now, imagine memory as a river. It does not flow in straight lines. It does not obey schedules. It meanders, twists, circles back on itself. You can feel a moment from decades past with the clarity of the present, as if it never left. You can anticipate the future, imagining outcomes with such vividness that your mind lives there long before it arrives. Time, in memory and imagination, is folded, expanded, contracted. It is not measured in seconds, but in intensity, in attention, in emotional resonance. And this is true not just for humans, but for all sentient experience, wherever perception exists. The child teaches this most clearly. Watch a child at play. Time has no mastery over the child. Minutes stretch into eternity. Hours vanish unnoticed. The child is immersed in sensation, in motion, in curiosity. Laughter expands. Tears deepen. Wonder stretches perception. This is not illusion. It is truth. Time is elastic, and your inner life determines its scale. Yet, as adults, we forget. We measure life by schedules, by obligations, by the ticking of clocks, and we wonder why it feels fleeting. And yet, there is freedom here. If you recognize time as feeling, you recognize your power. You can inhabit the river. You can slow it, stretch it, deepen it. You can transform minutes into moments that echo indefinitely in memory. You can live fully, richly, without regard for calendars or schedules, because what matters is depth, presence, awareness. The richness of experience is the true measure of duration. Science supports this. Neuroscience shows that attention alters temporal perception. Dopamine, cortisol, adrenaline, each shapes how moments are felt, how durations are perceived. The brain compresses or stretches time depending on engagement, novelty, emotion. Boredom collapses seconds. Absorption expands hours. The pulse of consciousness, the focus of awareness, is the measure of time. Clocks measure only the abstract. The felt experience is infinite, pliable, alive. And so we see the paradox. We are constrained by time, yet we shape it continuously. We live in a river, yet we are the river. We experience past, present, future simultaneously, yet we perceive them as sequence. Consciousness is both vessel and current, observer and participant. This is why moments of profound presence, love, grief, creativity, all stretch into eternity. The seconds become infinite because they are fully inhabited. Consider grief. Pain stretches time. Seconds become unbearable. Hours echo endlessly. Memories and anticipation intertwine. But this stretching is not meaningless. It is the richness of existence made visible. Suffering fully felt enlarges time. Presence, even in despair, deepens perception. And through this depth you begin to understand the elasticity of time. It is not diminished by hardship. It is intensified by awareness. Every feeling, fully lived, is an eternity. And love, too, teaches this. In moments of intimacy, seconds collapse into eternities, hours vanish. Time bends, stretches, disappears when hearts are fully present. Connection expands awareness. Attention shapes duration. Emotion sculpts temporality. Time is not measured by clocks, but by depth of connection, intensity of feeling, richness of perception. Moments of presence become timeless because they are inhabited fully, consciously, wholly. Even art demonstrates this truth. A symphony can stretch a heartbeat into infinity. A painting can hold millennia in a single glance. A poem can compress decades of emotion into a single line. Art bends time with perception, proving that the essence of temporality is not measurement but depth, attention, experience. The observer, the listener, the reader, is the co-creator of time, expanding or contracting it through awareness. And the universe itself is a teacher. Stars live and die across eons. Galaxies spiral and merge over spans incomprehensible. Cosmic time dwarfs human measurement. Yet within this immensity your consciousness exists. Your experience is a ripple in the vast cosmic flow. Every thought, every breath, every glance resonates outward, interweaving with the rhythms of planets, suns, and galaxies. You are not separate from cosmic time. You are an integral pulse in its infinite rhythm. And so, to live fully is to inhabit this truth. That time is not something external. It is not a line, a unit, a resource. It is a living, breathing phenomenon. It flows through you. It flows around you. It is felt, noticed, lived. Every heartbeat, every breath, every sensation is an opportunity to inhabit time fully, to bend it with awareness, to stretch it with attention, to live it with depth. The present moment is not fleeting. It is infinite. Each second contains all the richness you are willing to feel. Each breath can be eternity. Each glance, each sound, each touch can expand into timelessness. And when you inhabit this reality, you live beyond scarcity. You live beyond linearity. You live in the river of presence, in the ocean of awareness, in the field of experience that contains past, present, and future simultaneously. And so, as you continue your life, notice the elasticity. Notice the moments that expand, the seconds that contract, the hours that vanish. Notice that memory and anticipation are equally alive, shaping perception, bending time, coloring existence. Notice that presence is infinite, attention is infinite, awareness is infinite. Time is not lost, not fleeting, not scarce. It is lived, experienced, inhabited. And you are the one who shapes it. And in this shaping you find freedom. You stop rushing. You stop fearing. You stop waiting. You inhabit the river, merge with the current, and realize you have never been late. You have never been early. You are always exactly where time is, exactly where life is, exactly where feeling is. And in this realization, the tyranny of clocks, the illusion of deadlines, the pressure of schedules dissolves. You exist fully. You are fully present. You are fully time. And yet, even knowing this, life challenges. Responsibilities, distractions, obligations, noise, technology, and culture pull attention outward, fragment awareness, erode the depth of inhabitation. The mind splinters across devices, notifications, plans, regrets, and anticipations. Seconds vanish unnoticed. Hours collapse. Years blur. And still, the secret remains. Time is not lost unless you allow it. It is always available. It is always alive. It is always yours to inhabit, moment by moment, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat. And so, the practice emerges. Not as technique, not as ritual, not as obligation. The practice of inhabiting time fully is simple and profound. Notice. Attends. Feel. Breathe. Listen. Move. Look. Engage. Immerse. Depth, not speed. Presence, not accumulation. Awareness, not control. And through this, a single moment becomes eternity. A single breath becomes a universe. A single glance contains the vastness of existence. And in this practice, you begin to see that life itself is not measured in hours or days. Life is measured in attention, in feeling, in perception. Depth determines duration. Richness determines expansiveness. Presence determines eternity. And in this, the illusion of scarcity vanishes. You never run out of time. You never lose it. You never miss it. Time is always present, always flowing, always available. And you, through awareness, inhabit it fully. And now, as we drift further into the river of awareness, let us consider the subtle textures of time as they move through thought. Time is not uniform. It is not even. It bends and stretches according to the landscape of your mind, the depth of your attention, the intensity of your feeling. A single memory can last centuries within consciousness, while a day spent distracted can vanish without trace. The measure of a moment is not in minutes or seconds, but in the presence it contains, in the resonance it leaves, in the subtle echo that lingers long after it has passed. Think of a sunset. Its colors shift, deepen, fade, and yet the perception of its duration is entirely subjective. If your attention is fully present, a single sunset can contain an eternity, stretching across your senses, saturating your mind with the fullness of color, warmth, and light. And in that fullness, you realize that the sun does not rush. It does not hurry. It simply moves. It is time embodied in motion, a rhythm beyond measurement, an awareness beyond comprehension. And the mind, in its infinite capacity, mirrors this truth. In imagination, you can inhabit multiple temporalities simultaneously. You can relive past moments with the vividness of the present, imagine futures with detail and clarity, and experience the flow of the now with acute awareness. Consciousness does not abide by linearity. It folds, spirals, loops, and expands. It is a terrain, not a line. Time is not a path you travel. It is the landscape you inhabit. Consider the heart. Its beating is both measurement and music. Each pulse is a moment, a microcosm of life, a rhythm that carries emotion, thought, sensation, and presence. When you attend to your heartbeat, you perceive the passage of time in its purest form. Speeding, slowing, irregular, steady. Each pattern conveys meaning. Each pause resonates. The heart is the first clock you ever knew, the original measure of existence, the internal rhythm that aligns with breath, with movement, with emotion. And when you feel it deeply, time unfolds in intimacy, becoming something alive, tangible, personal. And yet, in the world around you, we are trained to obey abstract time. We follow schedules, deadlines, appointments, alarms, and routines. We measure success in hours and productivity in minutes. We live by clocks that tick, calendars that turn, watches that count. But these are only approximations, shadows of the true substance of temporal experience. True time is not outside you. It is not mechanical. It is felt, lived, and created by consciousness. And so, consider the paradox. Though we live within structured time, the essence of time is freedom. It is depth. It is attention. It is feeling. A moment fully inhabited can outlast centuries of distraction. A breath fully noticed can outshine a lifetime of rushing. A glance fully received can contain the vastness of existence. Time, at its core, is elasticity, infinite and responsive to the quality of consciousness that perceives it. Memory, too, shapes time. When you recall a moment with intensity, the past expands, saturating the present. You can feel the texture of a touch, the warmth of a voice, the scent of a place long gone. Memory bends time backward, revealing the internal architecture of experience. And anticipation bends time forward, stretching seconds into hours, days into eternities, with hope, anxiety, desire, or expectation. Time is not linear. It is elastic, pliable, responsive to attention and emotion. Consider attention itself. When fully engaged, time slows, and the richness of each moment is amplified. When distracted, time collapses, slipping away unnoticed. This principle is revealed in flow states, moments of total absorption, when action and awareness merge. Minutes can stretch into perceived hours, hours can collapse into perceived seconds. Time is not an external force. It is a reflection of inner engagement, the mirror of consciousness fully inhabiting experience. And creativity demonstrates this most vividly. A painter immersed in the brushstroke, a writer absorbed in the unfolding of words, a musician caught in the cadence of sound. Each bends time effortlessly. Hours vanish. Days pass unnoticed. The mind inhabits moments as eternities. The measure of duration is not in mechanical units but in the depth of engagement, the intensity of focus, the resonance of creation. Time is not counted. It is lived. Even in stillness, time reveals its true nature. Meditation, contemplation, mindfulness. These practices strip away external measurement, bringing attention to the pulse of experience itself. Breath, heartbeat, thought, sensation. Each becomes a marker, a unit of lived awareness. Time slows, stretches, deepens. The mind perceives the infinite contained in the finite. The present becomes a vast, resonant space, alive with the unfolding of consciousness. And as we observe nature, we see the same truth. Trees grow not by hours or minutes, but by the rhythm of sunlight, water, and seasonal cycles. Rivers carve valleys not by measured increments, but by persistence, patience, and subtle pressure. The stars rotate across the sky not according to our schedules, but according to celestial mechanics that span eons. Time is not imposed. It is emergent, a pattern, a felt flow, an unfolding rhythm. And so, the realization emerges. Time is not a constraint. It is a medium. It is the fabric through which consciousness moves, the space in which life unfolds, the river in which experience flows. And just as a river changes according to its banks, its obstacles, its currents, time changes according to attention, perception, and feeling. Seconds stretch or contract according to engagement. Hours expand or collapse according to presence. Life's richness is not measured in duration but in depth. And love, in its many forms, exemplifies this principle. In moments of connection, seconds stretch into infinity. In grief, they echo endlessly. In joy, they expand until time itself seems to pause. Each emotion bends, folds, and reshapes temporal experience. Presence, attention, and feeling are the architects of lived time. Time does not dictate life. Life dictates time. Even science, when peering deeply into consciousness, reveals this truth. Neuroscience shows that temporal perception is malleable, shaped by attention, emotion, novelty, and engagement. The mind folds time according to significance, compresses it under routine, expands it under intensity. Psychological studies reveal that deeply novel experiences stretch perceived duration, while familiar routines compress it. Time is not objective. It is experiential, a function of consciousness fully inhabiting each moment. And so, the invitation arises. To inhabit each moment fully, to bend time with attention, to expand it with presence, to live within it deeply. The clock is not the master. You are. The calendar is not the guide. Consciousness is. Time is not a limit. It is a canvas, a medium, a river in which awareness flows, carrying experience, emotion, thought, and life. And as you continue this journey, notice the layers of experience unfolding. Each sensation is temporal, each thought a pulse, each emotion a wave. The richness of living expands the river. The depth of attention lengthens the moment. The intensity of feeling bends the duration. Time, in its essence, is not counted. It is felt, not measured. It is inhabited, not imposed. It is lived. And so, as we continue, remember, you are not moving through time. Time moves through you. You are not contained by clocks or calendars. You are a participant in a living flow. You are the river, the current, the pulse, the awareness that shapes duration, that inhabits each moment with fullness, that feels eternity in a breath, infinity in a glance, timelessness in the heart of presence. And now, as we journey further into the current of awareness, let us consider how the body itself experiences time. Every nerve ending, every muscle fiber, every heartbeat contains a measure of duration that cannot be captured by clocks or calendars. The body knows rhythms, patterns, and pulses that exist independent of external measurement. The rise and fall of the chest, the beating of the heart, the subtle contraction of muscles, the circulation of blood, all are microcosms of temporal flow. Time is not something that happens to the body. It is something the body creates, feels, and moves within. And yet, most of us live disconnected from this inner temporal landscape. We obey the schedules of society, the ticking of clocks, the rotation of hands, and in doing so, we forget the richness of our internal rhythms. The body is a river, a tide, a pulse of awareness moving continuously, bending, stretching, and contracting with experience. To inhabit this fully is to reclaim time not as a constraint but as a medium, a living current in which perception flows. And notice the role of memory in shaping this flow. Memory does not follow linear time. It folds, loops, expands, and contracts. A single remembered smell can transport you across decades. A sound, a texture, a glance can unfold a lifetime in an instant. Past and present coexist within consciousness, creating a temporal landscape that is not sequential but layered, multidimensional, and fluid. In this way, memory bends time, giving depth and resonance to the present, allowing moments to stretch beyond the limits of mechanical measurement. Consider anticipation. The mind's projection into the future is equally malleable. Expectation, desire, anxiety, and hope all shape the perception of duration. Waiting for an event can make seconds seem eternal, while immersion in curiosity or creativity can make hours vanish unnoticed. Time is not a passive backdrop. It is dynamically created by the interplay of attention, emotion, and thought. Consciousness is both the current and the container of temporal experience. And let us look to nature for insight. Mountains rise, rivers carve valleys, glaciers creep, oceans swell, stars explode. All movements occurring on timescales far beyond human perception. Yet within these vast, cosmic rhythms, you inhabit the present. Your attention, awareness, and feeling render time immediate. The eternal becomes intimate when consciousness touches it. The vastness of the universe is not separate from your experience. It is mirrored in your perception. Every moment, fully felt, contains the resonance of the cosmos. And creativity reveals this truth in another dimension. Artists, musicians, writers, dancers, and poets all bend time through engagement. In creation, moments stretch, collapse, and fold in ways that defy measurement. The painter inhabits hours in a single stroke. The musician contains centuries in a melody. The writer compresses lifetimes into a single line. The creator, through presence and attention, demonstrates that time is not external but co-created. Duration is the mirror of awareness fully immersed. And consider love. In intimate connection, time collapses and stretches unpredictably. Moments of joy can feel eternal, moments of separation can feel interminable. Emotion, attention, and presence shape the flow of experience, bending seconds into hours, hours into timelessness. Love is a laboratory in which the elasticity of time is most vividly demonstrated. In connection, time is not counted. It is felt, co-created, and expanded through awareness. And grief, too, bends time with precision. In pain, seconds echo endlessly. In mourning, minutes become vast expanses, stretching consciousness into reflection and memory. Each tear, each thought, each recollection alters perception, creating an expanded temporality in which the depth of feeling dictates the duration of experience. Time, here, is not a mechanical sequence but a living landscape sculpted by attention and emotion. And the mind itself is a master of temporal manipulation. Neuroscience shows that attention, novelty, emotion, and engagement all shape perception. Dopamine and adrenaline accelerate or slow experience. Boredom contracts seconds, absorption expands them. The brain constructs the flow of time as a function of conscious engagement. The clock outside may tick evenly, but perception, the lived experience of time, is infinite, malleable, responsive, and alive. And meditation reveals this most clearly. When attention rests fully in breath, sensation, or awareness, time stretches and deepens. Each inhalation becomes an eternity, each exhalation a vast ocean. Awareness inhabits the flow, observing without interference, noticing without judgment, attending without distraction. The present becomes a boundless expanse, infinite and immediate, containing all temporal possibilities simultaneously. And myth teaches this as well. Across cultures, stories of gods, heroes, and spirits illustrate the elasticity of time. Moments of trial and triumph unfold in ways that defy mechanical measurement. Sacred rituals, festivals, and storytelling all bend the perception of duration, creating a temporal depth that mirrors the felt experience of consciousness. Time is not outside the narrative. It is the narrative, shaped by attention, intention, and presence. And cosmology reinforces the lesson. Stars live and die across eons, galaxies spin across millennia, and black holes distort space-time itself. Within these vast scales, human experience seems fleeting, yet each consciousness inhabits its own flow. The pulse of thought, sensation, and attention is an intimate measure of temporal depth, a microcosm of cosmic rhythm. Each fully lived moment mirrors the eternity of the universe. And so, the practice emerges: inhabit time fully, attend to sensation, notice thought, engage emotion, observe breath, follow heartbeat, listen to the rustle of leaves, the crash of waves, the quiet pulse of existence. Depth, not speed. Presence, not accumulation. Awareness, not control. Inhabit the river of time, merge with its flow, feel the eternity in a breath, the infinity in a glance, the timelessness in the heart of presence. And as you practice this, the illusion of scarcity dissolves. Seconds do not vanish, hours do not collapse.
Moments expand, stretch, razonata.
Time is always present, always alive, always available. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where time is, exactly where life is, exactly where awareness is. The tyranny of clocks, the illusion of deadlines, the pressure of schedules, all dissolve in the fullness of attention. And so, let us continue deeper. Let us explore the cosmic, the mythic, the poetic, the meditative, and the deeply human dimensions of time. Let us consider how civilizations, cultures, and consciousness itself have interacted with time, not as measurement but as lived experience. Let us see how time bends in ritual, in art, in music, in love, in grief, in memory, in anticipation, in attention. Let us see how time is not linear but layered, elastic, multidimensional, and alive. Let us see how, through attention and presence, each moment becomes infinite, each breath becomes eternal, each glance becomes a universe. And now, as we move even deeper into the current of awareness, consider how the mind creates its own temporal universe. Thoughts emerge, linger, and fade, each with its own duration, entirely subjective. One thought can occupy a fraction of a second. Another can stretch across hours, days, or even decades in memory. The mind constructs temporal landscapes that are independent of clocks, calendars, or schedules. Each idea, each emotion, each reflection bends time according to the attention we give it, the depth with which we inhabit it, the feeling that accompanies it. And consider perception itself. When you fully notice a single leaf in the wind, a single drop of rain on a window, a single sound in a quiet room, the moment expands. Time stretches. Seconds unfold into infinity. Awareness amplifies duration. Intensity bends reality. The clock does not change, yet the experience of time transforms completely. This is the essence of lived temporality. Depth, attention, and feeling dictate how long a moment truly lasts. And the body, in its rhythms, amplifies this principle. Heartbeat, breath, the subtle contraction of muscles, the circulation of blood, all pulse with time in a deeply personal way. When you notice your pulse, your breath, your heartbeat, you access a measure of time far more authentic than any mechanical device. These internal rhythms are the original clocks of experience, intimate and dynamic, always moving, always alive. Memory, too, bends time. A remembered touch, a scent, a sound, or a glance can expand decades into a single instant. The past is never lost. It is folded into the present, layered within consciousness, ready to be inhabited. Similarly, anticipation stretches the future. Expectation, hope, anxiety, and desire shape how moments feel, bending them, elongating them, compressing them. Time is not linear. It is lived, shaped, and co-created by consciousness itself. And notice how attention alters perception. When fully engaged, time slows, stretches, deepens. When distracted, it collapses, slipping away unnoticed. Flow states, moments of complete absorption in activity, exemplify this. Hours vanish unnoticed. Minutes become eternities. Duration is determined not by clocks but by the quality of presence. This is why creation, painting, music, writing, dance, bends time effortlessly. The artist inhabits hours in a single stroke. The musician contains centuries in a melody. The writer compresses lifetimes into a line. Attention shapes time. Consciousness is the architect of duration. And consider emotion. Love stretches seconds into infinity. Grief expands moments endlessly. Joy collapses hours into a heartbeat. Time is elastic, shaped by feeling, perception, and engagement. Presence is the medium through which duration is experienced. Life does not unfold in clocked intervals but in the depth of sensation and consciousness. Even the natural world demonstrates this principle. Rivers carve valleys without schedules. Mountains rise slowly, glaciers creep with patience, stars rotate across eons. Nature follows rhythms independent of human measurement. Yet consciousness inhabits these flows intimately. Awareness renders the vast cosmos immediate. The infinite becomes tangible. Each moment, fully perceived, mirrors eternity. And meditation reveals the deepest truths. By attending to breath, sensation, thought, and awareness, time stretches and deepens. Each inhalation becomes a universe. Each exhalation, infinity. Presence transforms the moment into a boundless expanse. Awareness merges with time itself. The present becomes a living, infinite space containing all potentialities simultaneously. Mythology and storytelling mirror this truth. Across cultures, stories bend time. Heroes live lifetimes in a single journey. Gods move beyond chronology. Rituals unfold in sacred temporal rhythms. Myth demonstrates that time is not measured but experienced, shaped by attention, intention, and consciousness. Through story, time is expanded, contracted, and rendered alive. And cosmology echoes the same principle. Stars live and die across eons. Galaxies spin across millennia. Black holes distort the fabric of space-time. Human experience is but a pulse in this cosmic rhythm. Yet each pulse is immediate, meaningful, and alive. Each consciousness inhabits its own temporal flow, creating richness, depth, and resonance. Fully inhabited moments mirror the vastness of the universe. And now consider creativity once more. Artists, writers, musicians, dancers, all bend time through engagement. Hours vanish unnoticed. Minutes become eternities. Lifetimes compress into single lines of experience. Presence and attention are the mediums. Depth is the measure. Time is not outside. It is co-created through experience, perception, and feeling. And love, in all its dimensions, bends time. In connection, moments expand infinitely. Separation elongates seconds endlessly. Emotion, attention, and engagement reshape perception. Time is not measured by clocks but by the intensity of lived experience. Presence transforms the fleeting into eternity. And grief, too, stretches time, revealing its elasticity. Pain, memory, and reflection expand seconds into vast temporal landscapes. Each tear, thought, and recollection deepens perception, revealing time as a living, malleable medium. Duration is not dictated by mechanics. It is sculpted by consciousness and feeling. And the mind demonstrates this in everyday life. Attention, emotion, novelty, and engagement shape temporal perception. Seconds collapse in distraction. Hours expand in absorption. Time is created in consciousness. Clocks tick mechanically, but lived experience unfolds infinitely, flexibly, and profoundly. And so, the practice emerges: inhabit time fully. Attend to breath, heartbeat, sensation, thought, and emotion. Notice the subtleties of experience. Depth, not speed. Presence, not accumulation. Awareness, not control. The river of time flows continuously. Merge with it. Feel eternity in a breath, infinity in a glance, timelessness in the heart of presence. And as you practice, scarcity dissolves. Seconds are abundant. Hours are infinite. Moments expand, resonate, and echo. Time is alive, present, and accessible. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where time flows, exactly where life unfolds, exactly where consciousness inhabits. The tyranny of schedules, deadlines, and clocks falls away. And so we continue, exploring meditation, mythology, cosmic scales, and the human mind. We observe how civilizations and cultures engage with time not as measurement but as lived experience. We see how ritual, art, music, love, grief, memory, and attention bend and expand temporal perception. We see that time is layered, elastic, multidimensional, and alive. And through awareness, each moment becomes infinite, each breath eternal, each glance a universe. And now, as we move further into the depths of awareness, consider the river of thought itself. Thoughts arise, linger, and dissolve in consciousness, each with its own subjective duration. One idea may occupy a fraction of a second, while another echoes for days, weeks, or years. The mind does not experience time uniformly. It folds it, stretches it, loops it, layers it. Each thought, each reflection, each ripple of consciousness creates its own temporal field, expanding or compressing the sense of duration according to intensity, attention, and feeling. And notice the role of sensation in shaping the perception of time. Touch, sound, taste, sight, and smell each carry a temporal weight. A gentle breeze on your skin can expand a single moment into eternity. A sudden noise can compress hours into a heartbeat. Sensation is the medium through which time is felt, measured, and lived. Each perception carries with it a temporal signature, a resonance that bends and folds the continuum of experience. The body itself is a measure of time. Heartbeat, breath, muscle tension, neural impulses, each pulses with rhythm. Each carries the subtle signature of temporal flow. When you become aware of your heartbeat, you access a time that is wholly yours, intimately woven into the fabric of your being. Breath expands and contracts, marking the passage of moments, yet transcending numerical measurement. The body is a living clock, a microcosm of the infinite rhythms of existence, and memory shapes the landscape of time. Recall a moment of joy, and the past expands, flooding the present with its texture, color, and resonance. Recall a moment of sorrow, and the past stretches, echoing in your chest, lingering in every cell. Memory is not linear. It is folded, layered, multidimensional. It bends time backward, making the distant immediate, the lost present. In memory, seconds contain centuries, and a single glance can evoke a lifetime. And anticipation stretches time forward. Expectation, hope, fear, and desire elongate moments, transforming minutes into eternities. Waiting becomes a meditation, an expansion of consciousness, an awareness of the elastic quality of temporal experience. The future is not fixed. It is felt, projected, imagined, and co-created by attention and intention. Time is created within consciousness, not imposed from without. Consider flow, the state in which consciousness merges with activity. Hours vanish unnoticed. Seconds become expansive. The mind inhabits the full temporal depth of experience. Creativity bends time effortlessly. The painter loses track of hours. The musician inhabits centuries in a melody. The writer compresses lifetimes into a line. Time is a medium, a canvas, a river shaped by presence, attention, and engagement. An emotion further bends time. Love expands seconds into infinity.
Grief stretches moments endlessly.
Joy collapses hours into a heartbeat. Fear can compress a lifetime into a single, searing instant. Attention and feeling are the architects of temporal experience. Duration is not mechanical. It is lived, sculpted, and felt. Presence transforms the fleeting into the eternal. Nature demonstrates this principle on a grand scale. Rivers carve valleys without schedules. Mountains rise, glaciers creep, stars rotate across eons. Human clocks cannot measure these rhythms. Yet consciousness inhabits them intimately. Awareness renders the vast cosmos immediate. The infinite becomes tangible. Each moment, fully perceived, mirrors eternity. Meditation reveals this most clearly. When attention rests on breath, heartbeat, or awareness itself, time stretches and deepens. Each inhalation contains a universe. Each exhalation carries infinity. Presence transforms each moment into a boundless expanse. Awareness merges with time, becoming simultaneously observer and participant. The present becomes a living, infinite space, containing all temporal possibilities. Mythology mirrors this truth. Across cultures, heroes, gods, and spirits inhabit time fluidly. Moments of trial and triumph unfold beyond linearity. Rituals bend the perception of duration. Stories expand, compress, and fold time. Myth illustrates that time is not measured but lived, co-created by consciousness, attention, and feeling. Cosmology echoes the same principle. Stars live and die across eons. Galaxies spin through millennia. Black holes distort spacetime itself. Human experience is a pulse in this vast rhythm. Yet each pulse is immediate, meaningful, and alive. Consciousness inhabits its own temporal flow. Each fully lived moment mirrors the infinite vastness of the universe. And creativity, once again, demonstrates the truth of temporal elasticity. Artists, musicians, dancers, and writers bend time through engagement. Hours vanish. Minutes become eternities. Lifetimes compress into single lines of perception. Depth and attention are the medium. Duration is shaped by consciousness. Time is not outside. It is co-created. Love bends time. Connection expands moments infinitely. Separation elongates seconds endlessly. Emotion, attention, and engagement reshape perception. Time is lived, not counted. Presence transforms the fleeting into eternity. Grief stretches time, revealing its elasticity. Pain, reflection, and memory expand seconds into vast temporal landscapes. Each thought, tear, and recollection deepens perception, revealing time as a living, malleable medium. Duration is sculpted by consciousness and feeling, not by mechanical clocks. The mind constantly shapes temporal experience. Attention, novelty, engagement, and emotion bend seconds, minutes, and hours. Clocks tick mechanically, but live time flows infinitely, flexibly, and profoundly. The practice emerges. Inhabit time fully. Attend to breath, heartbeat, sensation, thought, and emotion. Notice subtlety. Depth, not speed. Presence, not accumulation. Awareness, not control. Merge with the river of time. Feel eternity in a breath, infinity in a glance, timelessness in presence. As you practice, scarcity dissolves. Seconds are abundant. Hours are infinite. Moments expand and resonate. You are not late or early. You are exactly where consciousness flows. The tyranny of schedules, deadlines, and clocks dissolves. And we continue, exploring meditation, mythology, cosmic scales, and human consciousness. Civilizations and cultures engage with time not as measurement but as lived experience. Ritual, art, music, love, grief, memory, and attention bend and expand temporal perception. Time is layered, elastic, multidimensional, and alive. Awareness transforms each moment into infinity, each breath into eternity, each glance into a universe. And now, as we move toward the culmination of this journey, let us consider the profound interconnectedness of all temporal experience. Time, as we have discovered, is not a line, a measurement, or a sequence of events. It is not seconds counted, minutes tallied, or hours assigned. Time is consciousness itself. It is the pulse of awareness, the movement of attention, the echo of feeling. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought, every memory, every anticipation is time made alive. And in this realization, we see that the universe does not exist separately from our experience of it. Time is not something out there. It is the very medium through which we inhabit reality. And now consider creativity once more. Artists, writers, musicians, dancers, all bend time through engagement. Hours vanish unnoticed. Minutes become eternities. Lifetimes compress into single lines of experience. Presence and attention are the mediums. Depth is the measure. Time is not outside. It is co-created through experience, perception, and feeling. And love, in all its dimensions, bends time. In connection, moments expand infinitely. Separation elongates seconds endlessly. Emotion, attention, and engagement reshape perception. Time is not measured by clocks but by the intensity of lived experience. Presence transforms the fleeting into eternity. And grief, too, stretches time, revealing its elasticity. Pain, memory, and reflection expand seconds into vast temporal landscapes. Each tear, thought, and recollection deepens perception, revealing time as a living, malleable medium. Duration is not dictated by mechanics. It is sculpted by consciousness and feeling. And the mind demonstrates this in everyday life. Attention, emotion, novelty, and engagement shape temporal perception. Seconds collapse in distraction. Hours expand in absorption. Time is created in consciousness. Clocks tick mechanically, but lived experience unfolds infinitely, flexibly, and profoundly. And so, the practice emerges. Inhabit time fully. Attend to breath, heartbeat, sensation, thought, and emotion. Notice the subtleties of experience. Depth, not speed. Presence, not accumulation. Awareness, not control. The river of time flows continuously. Merge with it. Feel eternity in a breath, infinity in a glance, timelessness in the heart of presence. And as you practice, scarcity dissolves. Seconds are abundant. Hours are infinite. Moments expand, resonate, and echo. Time is alive, present, and accessible. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where time flows, exactly where life unfolds, exactly where consciousness inhabits. The tyranny of schedules, deadlines, and clocks falls away. And so we continue, exploring meditation, mythology, cosmic scales, and the human mind. We observe how civilizations and cultures engage with time not as measurement but as lived experience. We see how ritual, art, music, love, grief, memory, and attention bend and expand temporal perception. We see that time is layered, elastic, multidimensional, and alive. And through awareness, each moment becomes infinite, each breath eternal, each glance a universe. And now, as we move further into the depths of awareness, consider the river of thought itself. Thoughts arise, linger, and dissolve in consciousness, each with its own subjective duration. One idea may occupy a fraction of a second, while another echoes for days, weeks, or years. The mind does not experience time uniformly. It folds it, stretches it, loops it, layers it. Each thought, each reflection, each ripple of consciousness creates its own temporal field, expanding or compressing the sense of duration according to intensity, attention, and feeling. And notice the role of sensation in shaping the perception of time. Touch, sound, taste, sight, and smell each carry a temporal weight. A gentle breeze on your skin can expand a single moment into eternity. A sudden noise can compress hours into a heartbeat. Sensation is the medium through which time is felt, measured, and lived. Each perception carries with it a temporal signature, a resonance that bends and folds the continuum of experience. The body itself is a measure of time. Heartbeat, breath, muscle tension, neural impulses, each pulses with rhythm. Each carries the subtle signature of temporal flow. When you become aware of your heartbeat, you access a time that is wholly yours, intimately woven into the fabric of your being. Breath expands and contracts, marking the passage of moments, yet transcending numerical measurement. The body is a living clock, a microcosm of the infinite rhythms of existence. And memory shapes the landscape of time. Recall a moment of joy, and the past expands, flooding the present with its texture, color, and resonance. Recall a moment of sorrow, and the past stretches, echoing in your chest, lingering in every cell. Memory is not linear. It is folded, layered, multidimensional. It bends time backward, making the distant immediate, the lost present. In memory, seconds contain centuries, and a single glance can evoke a lifetime. And anticipation stretches time forward. Expectation, hope, fear, and desire elongate moments, transforming minutes into eternities. Waiting becomes a meditation, an expansion of consciousness, an awareness of the elastic quality of temporal experience. The future is not fixed. It is felt, projected, imagined, and co-created by attention and intention. Time is created within consciousness, not imposed from without. Consider flow, the state in which consciousness merges with activity. Hours vanish unnoticed. Seconds become expansive. The mind inhabits the full temporal depth of experience. Creativity bends time effortlessly. The painter loses track of hours. The musician inhabits centuries in a melody. The writer compresses lifetimes into a line. Time is a medium, a canvas, a river shaped by presence, attention, and engagement. An emotion further bends time. Love expands seconds into infinity.
Grief stretches moments endlessly.
Joy collapses hours into a heartbeat. Fear can compress a lifetime into a single, searing instant. Attention and feeling are the architects of temporal experience. Duration is not mechanical. It is lived, sculpted, and felt. Presence transforms the fleeting into the eternal. Nature demonstrates this principle on a grand scale. Rivers carve valleys without schedules. Mountains rise, glaciers creep, stars rotate across eons. Human clocks cannot measure these rhythms. Yet consciousness inhabits them intimately. Awareness renders the vast cosmos immediate. The infinite becomes tangible. Each moment, fully perceived, mirrors eternity. Meditation reveals this most clearly. When attention rests on breath, heartbeat, or awareness itself, time stretches and deepens. Each inhalation contains a universe. Each exhalation carries infinity. Presence transforms each moment into a boundless expanse. Awareness merges with time, becoming simultaneously observer and participant. The present becomes a living, infinite space, containing all temporal possibilities. Mythology mirrors this truth. Across cultures, heroes, gods, and spirits inhabit time fluidly. Moments of trial and triumph unfold beyond linearity. Rituals bend the perception of duration. Stories expand, compress, and fold time. Myth illustrates that time is not measured but lived, co-created by consciousness, attention, and feeling. Cosmology echoes the same principle. Stars live and die across eons. Galaxies spin through millennia. Black holes distort space-time itself. Human experience is a pulse in this vast rhythm. Yet each pulse is immediate, meaningful, and alive. Consciousness inhabits its own temporal flow. Each fully lived moment mirrors the infinite vastness of the universe. And creativity, once again, demonstrates the truth of temporal elasticity. Artists, musicians, dancers, and writers bend time through engagement. Hours vanish. Minutes become eternities. Lifetimes compress into single lines of perception. Depth and attention are the medium. Duration is shaped by consciousness. Time is not outside. It is co-created. Love bends time. Connection expands moments infinitely. Separation elongates seconds endlessly. Emotion, attention, and engagement reshape perception. Time is lived, not counted. Presence transforms the fleeting into eternity. Grief stretches time, revealing its elasticity. Pain, reflection, and memory expand seconds into vast temporal landscapes. Each thought, tear, and recollection deepens perception, revealing time as a living, malleable medium. Duration is sculpted by consciousness and feeling, not by mechanical clocks. The mind constantly shapes temporal experience. Attention, novelty, engagement, and emotion bend seconds, minutes, and hours. Clocks tick mechanically, but lived time flows infinitely, flexibly, and profoundly. The practice emerges. Inhabit time fully. Attend to breath, heartbeat, sensation, thought, and emotion. Notice subtlety. Depth, not speed. Presence, not accumulation. Awareness, not control. Merge with the river of time. Feel eternity in a breath, infinity in a glance, timelessness in presence. As you practice, scarcity dissolves. Seconds are abundant. Hours are infinite. Moments expand and resonate. You are not late or early. You are exactly where consciousness flows. The tyranny of schedules, deadlines, and clocks dissolves. And we continue, exploring meditation, mythology, cosmic scales, and human consciousness. Civilizations and cultures engage with time not as measurement but as lived experience. Ritual, art, music, love, grief, memory, and attention bend and expand temporal perception. Time is layered, elastic, multidimensional, and alive. Awareness transforms each moment into infinity, each breath into eternity, each glance into a universe. And now, as we move toward the culmination of this journey, let us consider the profound interconnectedness of all temporal experience. Time, as we have discovered, is not a line, a measurement, or a sequence of events. It is not seconds counted, minutes tallied, or hours assigned. Time is consciousness itself. It is the pulse of awareness, the movement of attention, the echo of feeling. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought, every memory, every anticipation is time made alive. And in this realization, we see that the universe does not exist separately from our experience of it. Time is not something out there. It is the very medium through which we inhabit reality. And so, as we reflect on the flow of our lives, we notice the subtle currents that have always shaped perception. The flow of emotion, the rhythm of the body, the deep resonance of memory, the stretching and collapsing of anticipation. All of these are temporal phenomena. We do not simply move through time. Time moves through us. It is a living river, bending around the stones of our attention, carving canyons into the landscape of our consciousness, shaping valleys of memory, mountains of understanding, oceans of feeling. And we see that this river has always been with us. From the first breath drawn in a newborn body to the last exhalation in the quiet of evening, from the smallest act of noticing a leaf in the wind to the grand sweep of civilizations rising and falling, time has been both medium and witness. The ancients knew this in their rituals, their myths, their festivals, their meditations. They understood that time was not something to be conquered, measured, or controlled. It was something to inhabit, feel, respect, and surrender to, and so we return to the practice of presence. Each moment, fully attended, becomes infinite. Each sensation, fully noticed, stretches into eternity. The breath becomes a cosmos, the heartbeat a galaxy, the glance a universe. To live fully is to inhabit this temporal expanse, to surrender to the flow of awareness, to realize that the very act of perceiving is the creation of time itself. And yet, in this understanding, there is freedom. Freedom from schedules, deadlines, and the tyranny of clocks. Freedom from the illusion that time is scarce, limited, or imposed from without. Freedom to inhabit each moment fully, to experience life in its depth, its richness, its resonance. To know that each breath, each step, each thought, each feeling is not measured externally but lived internally, expansively, infinitely. And consider love once more. In connection, time stretches, folds, expands. Moments of intimacy are eternal. Moments of separation are lessons in endurance, reflection, and growth. Love teaches the malleability of time more profoundly than any clock or calendar ever could. It shows us that the passage of seconds is meaningless without the depth of presence, without the intensity of engagement, without the full inhabitation of consciousness. And grief, too, imparts wisdom. In the slow, aching stretch of loss, we learn that time is elastic. Pain elongates moments, expands memory, deepens reflection. Grief teaches us that duration is not mechanical. It is emotional, attentional, and lived. Each tear, each sigh, each remembrance shapes the experience of time, revealing its fluid, responsive, and alive nature. And creativity demonstrates the same principle. The artist, the musician, the writer, the dancer, all bend time through engagement. The painter inhabits hours in a single stroke. The musician stretches centuries in a melody. The writer compresses lifetimes into a line. Each act of creation is a declaration that time is not external but co-created, not imposed but inhabited, not measured but lived. And meditation reveals it most clearly. In the quiet, in the stillness, in the deep attention to breath, sensation, and awareness, time expands infinitely. The present becomes boundless. Consciousness merges with duration, becoming both observer and river, both moment and eternity. Each inhalation contains infinity. Each exhalation carries the depth of galaxies. Each heartbeat resonates with the pulse of stars. Time and awareness are inseparable, and mythology mirrors this truth. Across cultures, stories bend time. Heroes live lifetimes in a single journey. Gods move beyond chronology. Rituals unfold in sacred temporal rhythms. Myths and stories illustrate that time is not measured but inhabited. Each narrative, each legend, each ritual is an exercise in temporal elasticity, a proof that time exists in consciousness, not in clocks or calendars. And cosmology reinforces it. Stars rotate across eons. Galaxies spin through millennia. Black holes distort space-time. Yet within these cosmic rhythms, consciousness inhabits its own temporal flow. Each pulse, each observation, each moment of awareness is immediate, meaningful, and alive. The microcosm of human experience mirrors the vast macrocosm of the universe. Each moment, fully lived, resonates with eternity. And finally, the conclusion emerges naturally, effortlessly, inevitably. Time is not what we think it is. It is not a sequence of measurements, a series of events, or a linear progression. It is consciousness itself. It is attention, perception, feeling, awareness. It is the river in which we float, the current in which we swim, the tide in which we rise and fall. Time is the lived experience of being alive, fully, deeply, consciously, moment by moment. And so, in this realization, there is liberation. The tyranny of the clock dissolves. The illusion of scarcity fades. The tyranny of schedules, deadlines, and imposed durations vanishes. We inhabit time as it is meant to be inhabited, expansively, consciously, attentively, alive. Each breath is eternal. Each glance contains universes. Each heartbeat resonates with the cosmos. Each moment is infinite, fully, immeasurably. And now, as we close this journey, let us take a final pause to inhabit the river of consciousness, the river of awareness, the river of time itself. Notice the breath. Feel the heartbeat. Sense the flow of life through every cell. Understand that time has always been with you, inside you, around you, part of you. It is neither enemy nor master. It is companion, teacher, mirror, and medium. To live fully is to inhabit time, not as measurement, but as experience, as sensation, as consciousness, as being. Time is not a thing that passes. It is not a line, a sequence, or a machine. Time is a feeling. Time is awareness. Time is life itself. And in this feeling, in this inhabitation, we realize the deepest truth, that we have always been infinite, eternal, and alive in the moment, that every moment contains all moments, that every breath, every heartbeat, every glance is a universe unto itself. And as you move from this meditation into the world, into action, into thought, into interaction, carry this truth with you. You are not bound by clocks, calendars, or schedules. You are boundless awareness moving through experience. You are time made conscious. You are eternity made tangible. You are the river, the tide, the pulse, the flow. And so, let your days expand. Let your moments deepen. Let your awareness stretch across seconds, minutes, hours, and lifetimes. Live each breath as if it were infinite. Move through each glance as if it contained the stars. Feel each heartbeat as if it carried the universe. And in this, know the ultimate liberation. That time, finally, is yours to inhabit, yours to feel, yours to make alive. Because time is not a measure. Time is a feeling. Time is not outside you. Time is not what you think. Time is the consciousness in which you live, the awareness that moves you, the rhythm that shapes you, the pulse that carries you. And in that pulse, in that awareness, in that feeling, you are free. And so, let us leave this reflection with one final understanding. The universe has always been, and always will be, the interplay of consciousness and experience. Each moment, fully attended, contains eternity. Each breath, fully inhabited, contains infinity. Each heartbeat, fully felt, resonates with the cosmos. And in the feeling of time, not as measure, but as presence, we find the ultimate truth. We are alive, infinite, and eternal.